Going on, everyone? Welcome back to another video. If you don't know who I am, that means you're new. I'm Mark. What's good with y'all? Go check out my other videos. Check them out. Check them out. But first, stay on this one. So, some people love to say I'm milking the Debunking Anti Gunners series. They're like, oh, well, you're constantly putting that up. It just seems like you just always have something to say when it comes to these anti-gunners. Well, there's an objectively good reason for that. And that reason is because they always say dumb shit. They are never saying anything that makes any form of logical sense. They're never saying anything that adds up. So yeah, I'm always going to have something to say about it because they always have something dumb to say. So with that being said, y'all read the title, y'all saw the thumbnail. Let's get right into it. Welcome back to this episode. Welcome back to another episode of Debunking Anti Gunners. On this episode, there are some good gun laws. Okay, no, there aren't. I can explain why in several ways, which I'm going to get into in a second. But for starters, let's look into what the Constitution says the Second Amendment is exactly, so that we can break it down and know word for word what it means, right? A well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. All right, so we're going to start with well-regulated. There we are. We're going to start with well-regulated, and we're going to go into what that exactly means right there and what it originally had its meaning tied to way back when the Constitution was written. So regulation does not mean, at least back then, it didn't mean what it does now. Regulation, oftentimes nowadays, often refers to the government regulating something or some form of government regulation that, that's just not what it meant back then. All right, they meant that the firearms fucking functioned. This is something that actually has been debated by constitutional scholars several times, and the reason why that is because people keep making the absurd claim that well-regulated means that the government has control over it. That is not what it means in the slightest. So just getting the well-regulated part out the way, we're going to be moving on to militia. All right, so when you hear militia, a lot of people, they're like, okay, well, militia, that's pretty close to military. That must be what it means. You know what I mean? That has to be what it means. That is not what it means in the slightest. There is no such thing as a, militia in the sense that a lot of people try to argue. There is no government sanctioned militia that, oh, this is their, job and this is the right that's solely reserved for them. That's never been what it was. And if that was the case, why would the Second Amendment say the right of the people? They weren't specifying that because they're like, hey, we want to make sure that there aren't any like animals getting into this militia and having guns. That's not what it was. They're saying the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. So just due to the right of the people part, militia is completely negated. But let's get into what exactly militia meant. All right, so militia, when it was originally written, ready? It meant a group of untrained, armed individuals. That's what it meant. Meaning they were not professionally trained. These are just people who have their guns and they're willing to fight. That doesn't sound like it has anything to do with the government or any form of, yes, it's okay to, infringe on the Second Amendment, which it specifically says at the end, it shall not be. But whatever. Let's get, that's just the militia part right there. The right of the people to keep and bear arms. All right. That is the next part I want to get to, because being necessary to the security of a free state, obviously that refers to fighting off a tyrannical government, whether it's foreign or domestic. Obvious, no need to go there. The right of the people to keep and bear arms. So I already mentioned, the people part, but the keep and bear arms. If you noticed, they didn't specify what kind of arms. They didn't specify handguns with only a 10-round magazine. They didn't specify muskets. They didn't specify, a double-barrel shotgun that you shoot through the door. They didn't specify any of that. Why? Because the Founding Fathers were not dumb. The Founding Fathers were very, very, very intelligent people. That's why they literally were able to found and write one of the most important documents in history. Not just like, oh, history of this country. I mean, it is the most important document in the history of our country in the USA, but it is one of the most important documents in the history of the fucking planet. These people were not dumb. They didn't sit there and write arms because, oh yeah, we only want it to be one kind of gun, or they didn't think that there would be any form of technological or engineering advances when it came to firearms. They knew that would be the case. That's why they wrote it the way they did. So that way they didn't have to sit there and specify each and every kind, because they knew that there were going to be minds that had different ideas in them and could create different kinds of firearms than what they were used to, which could have been a further advancement. So they said, "Hey, we don't want to impede that. We don't want to impede, a scientific advancement in the firearm industry. When in all reality, this is simply these firearms that we could be getting advancements on. Having better guns is what just got us our freedom. Is literally what just got us our independence. So yeah, they wrote arms for a reason." And shall not be infringed is as clear as day. You can say it to a 5-year-old. Shall not be infringed means you do not fuck with it. You don't mess with it. It shall not be infringed. Now, with the Second Amendment, me breaking it down that way, there are no good gun laws. Any gun law that restricts any access to firearms, in all reality, is an infringement on the Second Amendment. That's the truth of the matter here, whether you like it or not. A lot of people love to sit here and make the argument, oh, well, you want a murderer to have a firearm? You want all these criminals to have guns out here? No. I think if they're criminals, they should be in jail. If they're that big of a threat to society, put them in jail, keep them there. I don't see why we need to have these people out and about on the streets, considering they can just grab a knife and go on a stabbing spree. Like, so what is the difference here? And you act like they can't sit here and get a gun off the streets illegally anyways. So why even release them if they're that big of a threat to society that you feel they can't have their rights back? If you feel that they're not a threat to society, they should be able to have their rights back. That's just the truth of the matter here. So that completely is just debunks an entire argument as well of, oh yeah, well, I don't want murderers having, guns. Neither do I. Keep them in jail, perhaps. A lot of people make a lot of stupid arguments, and with what the Second Amendment says, any law that is against it is an infringement. That is simply how it is. And I'll be honest with you, if you take a look through our Constitution, of course, there have been some amendments that have been repealed with other amendments. However, since the Second Amendment is the only amendment in the Constitution to have the words shall not be infringed, in all reality, it is immune to that. It has an immunity to being repealed by another amendment because it is the only amendment that is cemented with the words shall not be infringed, because the founding fathers knew how important it was. So no, there shouldn't be any form of gun laws. There shouldn't be any form of anything along those lines. That is just how it works. There's no other way around it. A lot of people can disagree with what I'm saying. However, they can't disprove me. That's the problem here. They can disagree with me, but they can never disprove me. And that just shows a lot about their character more than anything. Now, with that being said, I think that about wraps it up for this video. I'm sure some of y'all are wondering why I didn't say a specific name of who said this. And I'll be honest with you guys. The main reason why I didn't say the name of, this particular individual that made this statement is because I feel that, and I'm sure y'all have seen the video, it's a very, very well-known individual in the gun YouTuber world, or I guess technically the military YouTuber world. But, if they're that much against the Second Amendment to say that there are some good gun laws, then I'm not so sure that they're going to be so for the First Amendment that they wouldn't try to sue me for saying something that got them butt hurt. Now, with that being said, I think that about wraps it up for this video. Overall, are there any good gun laws? No. Any law that is against the Second Amendment, is not pro-Second Amendment, or is trying to restrict your Second Amendment right, is an infringement. It is clear as day with how it is written in the Constitution. There is no other way around it, so therefore there cannot be any good gun laws. Now, with that being said, y'all make sure to like, comment, subscribe, share, hit that bell. When you hit that bell, hit all. And if you agree with me, there are no good gun laws. It is not even possible for there to be one. It is written in the Constitution, shall not be infringed. And if you agree with me, make sure to check out all my other videos. Y'all make sure to stay legal, stay safe, stay dangerous. Have a good one, y'all. Peace.